All the Upanishads are like a cow. The cowherd boy is Krishna. The calf is Arjuna. People of purified intellect are the drinkers of the milk, and the milk is the supreme nectar called the Bhagavad-Gita. Chapter 6, verses 24, 25 and 26, we can possibly. So, verse 25, it's subtitled, The Sentinel Inside. We all have a sentinel. And it's that sentinel that takes care of a lot of things. So 24th verse is Sankalpa prabhavan kaman styaktva sarvana sheshataha manasaivendriya gramam viniyamya samantataha. By completely discarding all desires which arise from thoughts and restraining with the mind itself all the sense and motor organs from every side. Yeah, so we have, there's something called, you can say, we have desires. That is, whatever makes the mind go outwards. So where do they rise from? From thoughts, as they say, sankalpat prabhavat kama. Even in the Mahabharata, Mahabharata is said, saying, Kama janami te moolam sankalpat kila jayate. Oh, desires, I know where you rise from. You rise from sankalpa, thoughts. That which impels. I will not do any thoughts. I will curb my thoughts. And I'm going to kill you. That's what they say. I will uproot you. So, sankalpa, the mind has two, you can say, faculties. The ordinary mind, it's sankalpa and vikalpa. It is actually, it keeps on deliberating on things. It either goes out and thinks about the past, or it imagines the future. Either way, both are useless. Because you're not supposed to live in the past. And you're not supposed to imagine what your future will be like. But in this case, what happens? Because of your past, you anticipate certain things. You think certain things will move in that particular way. One time I got a lottery, so I keep on buying tickets and tickets and tickets with the hope of winning the lottery again. And you know what happens. So it's these expectations. So sankalpa vikalpatmaka mana. The mind has always that deliberative, you can say, faculties. Is it this? Is it that? Oh, I'm not very sure. And the intellect, buddhi, is called a nischayatmika. It is definitive. It gives a decision. It is this. So, when you see something, the mind kind of is first cogitating. It's taking in this data and comparing it with older data, And all these processes are going on, and the intellect comes, this is this. Okay. So this mind is always unsteady. So what the Lord asks us to do? Give it up. What do you mean give it up? Just simply, okay, just give it up. Easier said than done. We know what it is. You don't have to bother about hundreds of things. Keep quiet. But we know, we keep quiet physically, but mentally we are not quiet. We are restless. So why is the restlessness? So we have these sensory organs and motor organs. Whatever comes in has to be acted out. Our physical bodies are designed in such a way that what comes in has to go out. So sense data comes in, and that is brought out through the nerves and the muscles. We act out our desires. There are some who won't do anything about it, and those desires will fester inside. That's even more dangerous. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, these small desires, if you are interested in eating some ice cream or chocolates or something like that, you better eat it and keep quiet about it. And the big desires, you discard them, you renounce them. This is the same idea. So here you say, how can the mind control all this sensory and motor, you can say, systems? Yes, it can, because the mind is higher than the senses. That's why the third chapter is Indriyani Parani Ahu, Indriyabhya Paramana. So the mind is superior to the senses. Obviously, because it is more subtle. And it is through this mind that one has to bring in the senses. But the mind now also has to be curbed of all its desires. So where do these desires, there are something called, is mimetic desires. It's called mimetic desires. There were experiments done with children in a kind of a kindergarten. They were given different colored balls, play balls. They're there. And they're all playing with them. And so one boy, he says, this red ball is mine. And all the other children, first some of them say, the green ball is mine, someone says, the blue mine, the yellow one is mine. So this boy keeps on saying, no, this red ball is mine. So most of the children, they leave their ball aside and try to grab that red ball from that boy's hand. What happens in many cases, desires actually are from outside also in. We see a kind of a similarity. We see something which an advertiser is keeping on hitting you. Oh, then that must be good. We see some nice looking model modeling something and selling something. Okay. Oh, that must be good. So most of our desires are actually coming from outside. We try to mimetic, that's why it's called mimetic desires, from outside. We see, oh, this will be good. And then there are those desires which are inside. They are in the form of impressions. Oh, so many impressions. Loads and loads of them. The ones which have become fossilized in the sense of your sense of identity is joined to them. They become, as I say, fossilized. They become strong. They are called the vasanas. They work under the mind the surface mind, and they are strong enough to orient you towards this and that. So this is how the mind works. But now the mind, the problem here is saying, in the third chapter we also have seen that desires have three abodes. The senses, the mind, and the intellect. And it is also seen that the first stage, when desires are entering into through the senses, it can be easily discerned like fire and smoke. You can see, oh, this is a fire and this is smoke. They're two separate things. And when they come in the mind, they are like, a mirror that's completely covered by dust. You go in a dark room and you're saying, where's the mirror? There's no mirror. There is a mirror somewhere, you're told. And then you keep on rubbing all the places and suddenly you find, it's completely covered, indistinguishable from its surroundings. And when the desires go into the intellect, it's like a fetus covered by a womb, completely covered. You just cannot know it. The intellect says, I'm fine. Everybody does it. So what's wrong with me doing a little of this? That person completely. So what is being taught is, you hold that enemy outside. It's called enemy. This enemy, as it is entering the senses. Indriyani mano buddhi asya adhisthana muchyate. So these are the three stages when the desire can be easily distinguished as they're coming to our senses. You must be able to hold them in check here. Oh, this is wrong. And okay, this is permissible. Okay, fine. You can push it. As it gets inside, then the problems start. So that's the reason why here again is repeated. Manasa eva indriya gramam viniyamya. Viniyamya is to completely control. Indriya gram, the whole host of, you can say, sensory and motor organs. And then he's saying, from all sides, samantata, completely, from all sides, say, control it to the mind. So there it is. And, the mind, the mind, of course, it keeps on thinking of hundreds of things. Yes, for once you keep on thinking of your higher nature. Because your higher nature is much, much superior, much more ennobling than this ordinary base things. What you are doing is nothing qualitatively different from what the animals do. Yeah. They have a nervous system, they have senses, they have it. So what's the qualitative difference between you? No, we have a mind. Oh, really? The animals also have mind. Oh, yes. There's no doubt about it. People have been deliberating for hundreds and hundreds of years whether they have minds. Now it is found that they have minds. It's not now they have found. We discovered long time ago that they have minds. So here you have, everything is more or less similar. They have mind, they feel pain, they feel pleasure, they feel all these things. So here we are. We're supposed to be human beings. How do we distinguish ourselves from being human? Well, dharma or righteousness or virtue distinguishes us from everything else, animals, all mammalian, all everything. So it is dharma, it is righteousness. In some places it's called knowledge, jnana, higher knowledge. That distinguishes us from everything else. So that has to be exercised. So this is the dharma. What is the dharma of a human being? Oh yeah, I'm not going to be pulled and pushed by all these small things. No, I'm going to fight back. And this fight back is this, what is called, is helped by the sentinel. Here, the mind acts as a kind of a sentinel, watching what comes in, stopping things out. Say, enough of things are inside. Why should I bother about more things out? It is a part of the mind keeps on not just observing you, observing everything that good, but observing your thought processes. And this is highly effective. That person is like a guard, watching things. So it is just this observation, this consciousness that acts as a mechanism to control everything. So this is what you say, viniyamya samantat, controlling it from all sides. This just observation. Because most of what comes in below our consciousness. We are very kind of, you can say, feeble in recognizing most of the things that come inside. After they have come inside, oh my God, oh, it's there. Why? Because this is the way the body and mind has been, senses have been designed. Things come in, but if you keep an eye, it's like a sentinel, keep an eye on things, you'll be able to discard many things. So it becomes very easy. So this sankalpa prabhavan kaman styaktva sarvan ashe, completely throwing. So all these desires, they have their roots in sankalpa, thoughts. So you cut these thoughts and everything falls down. Okay? So how does one do it? Yeah, it's a huge mass of garbage that I've collected over the years. Now what do I do? So the next verse speaks about it. Shanai shanai uparamed buddhya dhriti grihitaya atma samstham manakritva na kinchidapi chintayed. The sentinel's nature is now given a little more clearly, and its duties are elaborated. One should gradually, slowly, shanai, withdraw with the intellect which is endowed with, you can say, steadiness or fortitude from everything else, making the mind fixed in the self and don't think of anything else. You gradually, shanai, gradually pull things out. Through what? Through the intellect. Where is the intellect? Intelligence. Because you will never know, there is no kind of a separate entity. It is intelligence. It is the superior aspect of the mind itself. So this intelligence in us, endowed with fortitude or steadiness, gradually, inch by inch, keeps on pulling things. Don't do things violently. Do it slowly. People want to do things in a rush. I want to realize God. So yes, I'll do meditation and japa and this and that. And after 2 or 3 days, there's a violent reaction. And what happened? I'm taking rest for a couple of days there. Do things slowly, get acclimatized, get conditioned, and slowly move on, because the enemy here is mighty. But the intelligence is even mightier. But only the intelligence is now fragmented. It has to become integrated. And that is the sentinel inside. This is the intelligence, it's a buddhi. This is awakened to the idea that it is a reflection of the self. So the moment the intellect understands that I am operating because of the consciousness which is being reflected from behind, so this intellect, then what happens? Becomes fixed in the self. So you say, people want to know their origins and where they are. They take a DNA test and they say, and then you find some people that after taking the DNA test, oh, you are 3% European, 5% North African, 10% Russian, 20% Southeast Asian. but that's not speaking about my origins. I'm all over the place. They want to know. Yeah, my great-grandfather came from here. My greater-grandfather came from his father, and so and so and so. So people want to know the origins. And obviously, where is all this thing come? Who am I? Yeah, who am I? Yeah, find out who you are. From your parents and their parents and their parents. Go back, go behind. As long as you can, you go behind. People want to know from where they have emerged out. Okay. If only the intellect which is there inside, even if that is made to understand what are my origins. Oh, it's that consciousness. It's like, the Vedanta scriptures speaks about it as a red hot iron ball, tapta pinda. So what is like that? So iron is separate from fire, but now both of them have come together. And the iron, which was black and cold, has become hot and burning and red, and then it becomes white. And the iron keeps on thinking, I am fire. Oh no, you are iron. I'm fire, I can burn things. You see? But then you take the fire out, and then after a while, it starts cooling off, and then you feel, oh, the iron suddenly, oh my God. I'm just a piece of iron. So consciousness, as it were, enters into everything, and it is in the intellect that it is felt the most. And the intellect, the intelligence is foolish enough, it identifies itself with the mind and the senses and the body and the external world. That is the mistake. Instead of seeking its origins, it wants to seek origins outside. No, that's not the way. Bring it back inside. And then you'll find, oh, it's that fire behind. So Sri Ramakrishna also gives the example of, when you throw in groceries and you're boiling, inside, cutting, dressing the vegetables, putting them in and boiling it, and then the water becomes hot and all the vegetables keep on boiling inside and dancing inside. So the vegetables, if they think that I'm dancing, the water will say, no, you're dancing because of me. And then the metal vessel will say, oh, you're dancing because I'm hot. And then the fire will say, oh, no, you're all wrong. You're all dancing because of me. So take the fire out and see everything is. It is rolling back yourself. So that's why I say, Shanai, Shanai, slowly, slowly. Uparamed pule. Buddhya, through the intellect, through the intellect. Intellect, what? Dhriti grihitaya, endowed with fortitude. Dhriti is the willpower. The people with how to increase willpower. What is willpower? This is willpower. The will is not something separate. They will say free will. What's that? Free will. People are endowed with free will. Really? They still have to come to this idea of there is no free will. Nothing is free inside. As you say, there's nothing free in this universe. Everything is bound. As Bhagavan Buddha said, Pratitya Samutpada, codependent origination. Everything depends on something else. So it's a chain of events. Will cannot be free. Will is something which is a reaction to outside stimulus. If you say, what? Free will, I have a free will. Oh, you don't. You have a will, it's not free now. So you have the workings of the intellect is the willpower here. When it starts exercising this Shanai, Shanai, should gradually withdraw with the intellect endowed with steadiness. Slowly, slowly, slowly. How do you train maybe a horse or anything? Slowly. Or a dog or a cat. It's done gradually, made to understand. And as it understands, it will imbibe that training. And as it imbibes the training, it will come under your control. So this is exactly how we need to train the mind. Slowly. Make it understand. Don't be violent. Like Swami Vivekananda said, if you want to ride that horse, don't stun that horse with blows to its head. That's not the way to ride the horse. But you slowly, gradually make friends with that horse, talk to it, and then, slowly break it. So this breaking of the, you can say, internal organ is done intelligently with that intelligence which has got fortitude or steadiness, dhriti, grihitaya. And then think of just the self. What do I think of the self? I close my eyes and think, oh, this is the self. Oh no, that's not the self. Two classes of Brahma's son, Prajapati, the creator's sons, they had heard that Atman is beyond disease, beyond decrepitude, and beyond all material transformation, and it is immortal. So they both go to their father. They both get the same instructions. You are that self that you are seeking for. So one of the class of sons was Virochana, the demonic people. The demonist class of people. This world has got good people and bad people. So Virochana said, saying, what happened? All the other, his friends and family said, what happened? Oh, the father said, you are that self. So you eat well, dress well, and everything, you are the self. And the demonic people, they were happy, yes, you are the self. But Indra was a little kind of concerned. But when I fall sick or I'm tired, this Atman appears sick and tired. But we have heard that the Atman is beyond old age, disease, death. So he he goes back to his father. Do you mean to say that the body is the self? I don't mean that the body is the self. You are that self. Go find out. And then he keeps on and deliberating and meditating over years and years and years. And finally he discovers the Atman behind the body-mind complex. So it is this active sense of inquiry. So when he's saying, think of the self. Which is the self? Is this the body? No. Because the Atman is beyond disease, death, decrepitude. It is immortal. It is infinite. And this is exactly opposite. So there is a kind of a contradiction. Which is the self then? Now find it out. And slowly your inquiry comes and peels of layers after layers of false superimpositions of the self and goes to the real self. This is Atma Samstam Manakrita. Make the mind fixed in the Atman. First, the thoughts of the Atman. That I am that immortal, infinite being. I am beyond birth and death. Make the mind one with this. Become one with that idea. See, when a musician is playing, any instrument, if that a musician and the instrument are two separate things during that time, you will not get any music. That person has to become one with that instrument. So this is aligning yourself straight with those thoughts, becoming one with those thoughts. This is Atma Samstam Manakrita. Make the mind fixed in the Atman and don't think of anything else, as I say. Na kinchidapi chintana. Don't think of even anything smaller. Here, there are two sets of impressions. One, those desires take us outside, and the yoga impressions, all the prayers and meditation and everything we do are the impressions of the yoga. So they take us inside. So there is a tussle between impressions pulling us outside, is called a vyuthana avastha. And there's the inside, there's a yoga avastha, that is pulling inside. So depends on which wins, the one you'll feed. So which one will win? There are two wolves fighting. Which one will win? The one you feed. So you keep on feeding those impressions of yoga. Not the distracted and disturbed impressions that lead you outside. Feed those impressions which lead you inside, the yoga impression. And this is what, don't think of anything else. Just think of the Atman. Anya vacha vimunchita. Even the Upanishad, give up all other talk. We will talk about hundreds of things, but we have not talked about that very thing. Amritasya, this is the bridge to immortality, the saying. Yes. So here, know the self and give up all other talk. This is the bridge to immortality, the road to immortality. So this is the sentinel inside. This is the intelligence which keeps an eye on everything. It is doing things gradually, but in a methodical way. And then once, you see, the mind works on according to method. If it has been used to a certain set, you can say, routine, or a set practice, or a set habit, it's very difficult to break that habit. But once it's broken, it's gone. A person has been having some habit which is detrimental to one's health for years and years and years. The doctor says, stop sugar. Really? Yes. Otherwise, you'll have to take every day those insulin injections. Oh no, I don't want that. Yeah, so stop that sugar. There it is. So years and years of, you can say, habitual behavior is suddenly broken in one shot. This is what actually it has to be. Slowly it has to be. The rolling back comes. Shanai, Shanai. So a new set of practices, a new set of methodology has to be inserted. It's like, okay, now we want to go from here to there. Okay, fine. When you're building a railroad, you build a railroad, one, you can say, sleeper after the other, and then put the rails, one after another, another. Gradually. At the end of the year, you've built a whole new line, new railroad. That's the way you do it, slowly, slowly, slowly. That's why I say, na kinchidapi chintai. Don't think of any other thing in the form of, you can say, objects. Think of God. The 26th is, again, the Sentinel is being called. Yato yato nischarati manas chanchalam astiram tatastato niyamyaitad atman neva vasham nayet. It's a repeat of the previous verse. Yato yato nischarati. They're saying, should the restless and unsteady mind that wanders, you can say, wanders about, it should be brought under subjugation of the Atma, brought under subjugation and led to the Atman. So the yogi should bring under subjugation of the self this mind that is restless and unsteady, okay, by restraining it. This is what? Restrain the mind. Okay, now we've understood the whole thing is. What has to be done? This has to be done. So what is inside? We'll talk about, this is consciousness and consciousness. It's like, Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of like a fish that is enclosed in a, you can say, earthen pot. In India we had fish was kept in those earthen pots. And suddenly it's taken to the lake and released. How does that fish feel? Or a bird that is in a cage, and you open the door of the cage and let the bird fly. What does the bird feel? This is exactly what one feels when one gets in deeper and deeper inside. It is not a small space. They're saying, there in the scriptures they say that here in the cave, there's a cave, the cave of the heart. It's called the cave of the intellect. And in that, there is a space called a supreme space. And in that supreme space floats the entire universe. There it is. When Sri Krishna was a child, as children do, putting clay in the mouth and eat it. So the mother, Yashoda, she used to catch the child, Gopala, and try to take the clay out from his mouth, the child eating clay. And one time she opened the mouth and took the clay, and she's seen the whole universe inside, in the child's mouth. What? This is exactly what one feels as one gets inside. You are not getting into some bones or bony structure or nerves or this neurons or this blood cells or this and no, you are not getting into that. It's just confined space, small. No, it's a vast dimension. The mind itself is a vast dimension. And then the higher mind has got, and the Atman is dimensionless. There is no dimension. Because the dimensions are in time and space. So here it is said, the yogi should bring under the subjugation of the self itself the restless and unsteady mind by restraining it. Every time it wanders away. Yato yato nischarati. Charati wanders away. Manaschanchale, bring that mind, unsteady mind, and bring it under control. How do you do that? See, the mind has been running after desires, and suddenly it finds, oh, what a stupid thing I was doing. That God inside is so vast and so blissful. All the beauty and all the truth and all the existence is there. And what was I doing all the time? Deluded. The mind has to be given a taste of this inner bliss. And once it gets a taste, then you don't need to bother about it. It's going to go there inside only. So till that time, those yoga impressions are tugging at those impressions, vyuthana, the restless impressions that take one away. There is a kind of a tug-of-war going on. One ultimately wins, the one you feed, the one you nurture. And then it pulls this mind inside. And as it goes inside, this is what actually happens. So there the sentinel uses what is called the intelligence there. It uses discernment. This is real, this is unreal. This is immortal, this is mortal. This is pure, this is impure. This is unlimited, this is limited. Constantly that discernment. And then once you understand it, there's a detachment. Already there's a kind of give it up. I don't want to live with such small things. That sentinel also needs to be made to understand that all that you see, the whole world that you see now in your mind, actually you see the world, you perceive the world in your mind. You must look upon it as just appearances. Just appearances. Things come and things go. Clouds come and clouds go. The sky is ever the same. So look at the sky, don't look at the clouds. So then it is through the power of this practice of yoga that the yogi merges his mind and intellect and everything in the self. This is the teachings of yoga. We stop here for today. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.